So another area to delve into in terms of digital learning is executive leadership programs. So I know earlier you said you talked about how you've looked at executive leadership programs in terms of going from virtual and face-to-face, and you have this blended program across the different levels of the organization. So can you tell us about the program and some of the interesting, I know we talked a little bit about it, some of the unique elements that you've used to keep, to really execute a good digital learning. But also one of the things that's important is it's not just having executives go through the program and then they leave and then they go back and you never see them again. And it's how do you utilize their expertise in subsequent programs, so you have this reinforcement of learning loop going on. So I think that would be interesting. So tell us a little bit about that.
So in this new world of the digital workplace, the digital workforce, there really is this need for a different kind of leader. It's a different kind of management. And when we first created the Executive Leadership Workshop, it was at the request of our CEO. Coming in new, he felt that it would be well worthwhile to I guess, re-educate our leadership around what the expectations were. It was about really taking the strategy and embodying the strategy in everything that they do. And the feeling was that, if we could get everybody from our CEO, his direct reports, and 2 layers below that, we could take them through this program, we could really impact the culture and the change as to what our new CEO wanted to see from our leaders. So we worked with an external organization to bring some thought leadership in. We created an incredibly interactive workshop. It started off as a 4-day workshop. We're down to 3.5 days, and we're working to get it to 3 days. Again, from a requirement from the business, which is these are our senior people, to pull them out of the business, for 3 days, and in many cases it's a whole week, particularly for our internationals that come in. Right. It's a big commitment from an organization to do that, but our senior leaders felt that this was worthwhile. So we designed the workshop. It's highly interactive. There's very little theory because we've gone down the path of when we meet face to face, we want that to be the experiential part. So we've leveraged technology in that as part of the design of the workshop. It was flagged that our leaders needed to get a certain base of our products and our solutions across the business. So we built proprietary content on that, which we leveraged and assigned, in the old way of assigned online learning. We also built some modules that would start to touch on some of the content that was inside the workshop that people brought as pre-work. And as part of the tool that we used, they were actually able to start collaboration before they even came into the workshop, which if you think is kind of interesting, considering that each workshop, we ensure there's a blend of our 4 regions. There has to be a complete blend of all our service lines and all our business units, and we work towards a diversity blend of male and female. So it's kind of interesting putting together those workshops to get the right group of people in there.
What's the size?
We have 30. So we have 30 people in the cohort.
That's a large.
It's a large group. Yeah. And as I say, they can start the collaboration online. Yeah. I mentioned our virtual training center. So we actually make that available. They have a dedicated room in our virtual training center to actually start their journey. Yeah. They then come together face to face. We have 7 modules we deliver. As I said, it's highly interactive, and every scenario that we use, we call it leadership engagement labs rather than role play, because we say, we want you to react as you would really do, not as you think we might expect. And that's been kind of interesting to see some of the different cultural learnings as we've done these activities. And we get to the end of the workshop and we say, so, were there any of those activities that you felt was just kind of plucked from, no reality? And everybody's, oh no, I've lived through a lot of those scenarios. And so then, post the workshop, we look to reinforce the content. And so we do it a couple of different ways. We have once every 2 months, we reconnect in what we call our Executive Leadership Workshop Connect, which is live virtual sessions where we have a topic that is selected by one of the participants, one of the alumni, and that gets covered then as a discussion topic. We also use a retention app. So we built an app internally that gets sent out to all of the workshop as they complete. It's 90 days after they complete. And so it's look to see how much knowledge did they retain, and we gamified the whole thing. So we have like 3 or 4 of the different workshops that play against one another with leaderboards on their mobile phones and so on. And then probably one of the other things that we did is over time, we phased out the external organization that we were using, partly for cost, partly because we wanted to really own it ourselves. And we then started to use alumni that had been through the program as guest presenters. And so we've selected some of our most senior leaders that have been through the program that now come back and present as guest presenters. So for example, our head of innovation and strategy out of our engineering group comes back and delivers the innovation module. One of our senior leaders in finance and product lifecycle development and management comes back and delivers our growing the business module. So, they bring with them experience from before they worked with Unisys. They bring with them the Unisys experience to make it real to those people in the room. And equally, because, we have a little bit of a mix in terms of levels of people attending the class, they get direct interaction with those leaders. And then our whole senior leadership team, so all of Peter, our CEO's direct reports, all Skype in at various times during the program to talk about the module that they Skype in, during that time. So, that group gets, and we do the whole thing on video conference. So that group gets their exposure to the senior leadership. They get exposure to kind of the next level of leadership through the alumni cycling through. And in many cases, mentoring relationships spring up as part of the workshops.
It's a great program.
Hopefully it gets to the point where it's self-sustaining and I don't have to deliver in the modules anymore.
What kind of feedback have you been getting from, how long have you run this program?
So 3 years now.
3 years.
Yes.
So what kind of feedback are you getting from the from the executives who've gone through it?
Right. So we actually do a survey at the start of the class, and that's more around a self-assessment, which is around confidence and competence on certain key criteria and topics that we cover during the workshop. We survey at the end of the workshop, and we also do just I guess in a way, a feedback survey on the whole workshop. And typically the feedback has been very good. It's been very positive in terms of, wow, the organization is investing in me as a leader. They must really care. So from an engagement perspective, learned a lot of things that perhaps I'd stopped doing, learned some things that, reminded me to do differently. Networking has just been one of the biggest benefits, which was, to understand that there is a manager or a leader in a different country or a different region that's having similar problems with me that I can now connect with and share. That's been very powerful. What we did measure then, 12 months after we started it, we went back to the managers of the leaders that had been through the workshop and asked them to rate on a scale of prior to the workshop versus after the workshop. We were looking for 4 specific behaviors. Did their direct reports, did they display that behavior more consistently or less consistently before and after the workshop? We've seen a behavior move around the expectations that our CEO had set. And then just recently, we did a survey. Specifically, we were looking now for quantifiable information. So we wanted to understand, what was some of the behavior change? What was the business impact? What was the quantifiable business impact that you had? And so we've now started to collect that information as well. And so, seeing things like reduced attrition, cost reductions, increased productivity, and so on, that are now being fed back as case studies to us.
Yeah, those are
use.
great statistics. I mean, because that's really what it's about.
Correct.
Because now you're measuring the value of the program.
Yes.
So it isn't about cost or 3 days or they tested well at the end
Exactly.
of the program.
Or they liked it, they were happy with
Yeah,
the
they
fruit
were
that
happy.
we gave
yeah,
them.
the food was really good. It's all about how has it helped them improve business outcomes for Unisys.
Yes, yes.
That's great.
Has the program actually
Yeah.
impacted the bottom line?
Right.
Have, you know, now, because behaviour change doesn't necessarily have an immediate impact,
Right.
but after 3 years,
Yeah,
can
you
we start to
it,
see
you
that?
you see a trend. You have
Yes.
data points.
Yes.
That's great.